Greetings and welcome to the weekly edition of the Safe Crypto Show. I am your host, Tyler, with co-hosts Mike and Jason. Each episode attempts to cover a range of topics, beginning with a roundup of the top cryptos of the week. Next, a discussion of general crypto news and happenings. And then we consider new and interesting projects and ICOs, all followed by a brief discussion of the weekly tech update. Safe Crypto Show disclaimer. Please keep in mind at all times that we, the hosts and guests of the Safe Crypto Show, are not offering or giving investment advice. We only state our personal opinions and thoughts on our own interests. By watching, you agree to not hold us responsible for any losses you may incur by executing trades or by maintaining holds based upon the subjects discussed in our episodes. So, it's Thursday, the 14th of December. Let's begin. Topic 1. This week's top 5 cryptos from CoinMarketCap. So, let's see, we got Mike on the line here.
Howdy, everyone.
So, Bitcoin didn't do quite as stellar the last week as it did the last week before, but still up.
Well, it's up from what we had it at last time we had our chat, but it had a good chunk of a run up just during the interim between when we got the last show taped and when we got the last show posted. Had a nice little run up to almost 20,000, and it's been pretty stable past week after a little blip down into the 13s, but it's now hovering around 16.8 or so. Currently, as of taping, it's 17,104.
Let me just refresh here. Yep, 17,104. Yeah, it's been around between mid 16s and low 17s for the past 2 or 3 days, I think.
Yep.
Maybe
yeah, it hasn't really been doing anything dramatic. The futures market opened up here in the United States, so that was going to be the big thing on the big blip on the radar, and it doesn't seem to have had a big run-up like some of the people thought it was going to do.
I kind of feel it was priced in, that the run-up happened before it started.
I think that very well could be the case.
And now it's stabilized. I reckon there's, consolidation happening. There's people waiting, there's people selling, there's people buying, and it's just kind of stabilizing right now, and it'll, people wait to see what happens, and then they'll either buy more or whatever. It's hard to say where it's going to go in the short term. Number 2, Ethereum. Now, it's had an amazing week.
That it has.
It's off its high, but it's had quite a run.
Yeah, it was last week at this time. It was around not quite half of what it is now. It was about 425. And it ran up to about 730, I'm seeing. 730, 740.
Yep.
Which was a pretty steep climb up the
I should be going into
the crypto hill.
Just loading the detailed chart. I'll get better at this as we make more videos, but yeah. Probably need a smaller window there, 7 days. There we go. Yeah, we can clearly see there how it's down now. Well, I don't really. I think it'll probably stabilize around here, just like Bitcoin did. I don't think it's gonna zip up much more in the near term, but
I don't see it dropping down a whole lot unless we get some more bump ups in the Bitcoin dominance. Have quite a bit more money sloshing around in the crypto pool than we did last week. I don't recall what our market cap was last week at this particular point in time. It's at 520 billion now. Flirted around with the 500 billion for a little while, but finally pushed through that, and now we're up to 520. But the Bitcoin dominance has dropped from the high around 62, 63, and it's down to 55 at the moment.
55, yeah.
So that could be part of the reason for the run-ups in the other coins that we're seeing, like Ethereum and the next one on our list, Bitcoin Cash. It's had a little bit of a run-up as well.
Yep, now up 14.67% the last 24 hours. Now, I kind of thought last week Bitcoin Cash would kind of equilibrate upwards, and I bought a chunk of them. Fortunately, I'm still holding those, so I'm doing well with the run-up the last couple of days. Quite pleased with that. I don't know.
Yeah, it caught back up with its previous run-up that it did a few weeks back, where it had the crazy spike up to almost 1,800.
Yeah.
And I guess it's setting new highs now for the Bitcoin Cash.
I suspect it will settle down at some point like the others have done, but just playing catch-up at the moment.
Yep.
Have a look at the chart here, 7 days.
Yeah, the run-up that I was referring to was back in November, where it got up to almost 2,000.
The high would have been yesterday, I guess. Let's see, it says, has this got the date showing on it? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it was today. Early in the morning, it hit a high of 2,048. So it's down off that, but seems to be stabilizing around this range. I think I will probably take some profit on that and go into my new favorite, EOS, which we'll be discussing later today in this episode.
The next one on our list would be Ripple at number 4, and what a couple days that has been for Ripple.
Still.
Tell you what, I never would have expected it. It had been floating around between 20 and 30 cents for quite a while after its big run up in May and June that it did there. You know, it went off and it was sitting there floating around in the mid 20s. 20 to 30 cents is kind of range bound for a while, and now it's just gone absolutely ballistic. It's more than doubling in the past couple of days, and that's something that I did not expect.
I think it's a
when we had our chat last week.
Yeah.
It's a 1-2 punch. Doing its same old last week, sitting in the mid 20s, plus or minus a few pennies and stuff, and now it's up to 77 cents a piece now, triple what it was last week. And most of that is just in the past couple of days.
I see two things here. One is it's doing what the other coins are doing. It's having a readjustment after the Bitcoin run up, like several other coins are doing. But secondarily to that is the news that came out the other day, the Nikkei Asian Review. Japan, South Korea blockchain payments enter trials today. Bank hopes Ripple Tech slashes cost 30%, allows same-day funds transfer. And that was out yesterday. And so I suspect that that, coupled with the equilibration and the fact, I suppose, that South Korea and Japan are big buyers of crypto, particularly South Korea. So this news would have been, pretty big for the South Korean investors. and probably saw it as a reason to jump in and buy even more. And I think that's what's happening here. Link to that article will be in the show notes and in the description below the video. I don't think I had anything more to say about Ripple, but yeah, wow. I wish I'd got in on that, but I didn't.
Didn't see the news coming on that one.
No.
So
Taken by surprise there. I'm not a big Ripple fan anyway, but for those who are, I hope you did well on it. And last for the day. Oh, go
last
ahead.
of the top 5 is Litecoin.
Litecoin. Down 10%. Or nearly 10%, 9.63. Now, first thing I'd like to point out is that a lot of the run-up initially in Litecoin was coming from South Korea, I believe. So it could be that they're swapping Litecoin for Ripple based on that news. IOTA as well in the same boat probably. So they could be seeing some sell-off as they're swapping from one coin to another.
Considering that it was $97, $96 last week at this time.
Yeah.
That's still quite a significant run up in profits, even though it is down off of its high.
Go into the chart there for it. Yeah, it's done phenomenally well. I missed out on a chunk of that. I think I sold a few days ago when it was about the same price that it is now. Or maybe, no, maybe it was a bit lower. I don't remember. But I took some good profits on it, and I'm happy. I didn't get the full gain, but that's alright. I bought Bitcoin Cash, and it's gone up since then, so I've also bought more Bitcoin, which hasn't done much since then, but can't win them all. Alright, I guess that's good enough for the top 5. We can go to our next topic now. Our interesting coin or ICO spotlight. And this week's spotlight is on EOS. I'm going to pull up the chart for EOS here, which is now at number 12. And we'll look at the monthly chart here because it's had really amazing gains in the past month. So I'm just going to discuss briefly what EOS is. It's currently still under development. It's going to be probably 6 months before, well, maybe 3 to 6 months before it's out in some usable platform. It is a smart contract platform like Ethereum or Neo. I think it aims to be probably more like Ethereum in its smart contract ability. What it attempts to do is to solve Ethereum's bottleneck by introducing parallelism. You can think of this like multiple blockchains linked together. Each can do a limited number of contracts at a certain rate like Ethereum, but EOS will allow multiples of this, thus enabling much faster processing. The Ethereum network is currently constrained and falling behind in its ability to process requests. Well, not fully falling behind, but it's getting slower and slower as it bogs down with more and more requests. The demand for Ethereum has been really high, with all the ICOs taking advantage of the Ethereum network to process their tokens. So it's really starting to get bogged down a bit. And while there are proposed solutions to help Ethereum scale, they're still a fair way off. Plus, it's much more difficult to adjust an existing network. So EOS being developed taking advantage of the knowledge and skills of Dan Larimer, who's the lead developer there, and he's the guy who was behind the Steam and also behind BitShares and some other smaller projects before that. So he's been involved in this space for a long time. He understands a lot of what's going on. Apparently Steam and BitShares already scale much better than what Ethereum can because of how they're running their network, how their network operates technologically wise. Steam processes huge number of transactions, more than Ethereum even. So he's going to apply his knowledge of blockchain scalability and increase it further with parallelism and basically build an Ethereum-like system that can allow people to build blockchain applications which are functionally like smart contracts in a way. They can be more complicated and do more interactive sort of things if the blockchain system allows it. This is the problem with Ethereum, is that because of its limitations in terms of speed, you can't do very complex contracts that are too interactive, because the lag would just be too great. So developers don't bother at a certain point. Now, if EOS is able to pull this off, then some more advanced applications will be developed that really can't be developed on Ethereum just because of the lag. So this really has powerful implications for what could happen with its market cap and pricing targets, which I'm going to get into here in a minute. Just thought I'd ask Mike here, what do you think about EOS?
Well, seeing as the issues that Bitcoin has cooked into its system right now, with the, in my opinion, ridiculously low number of transactions per second that it's capable of handling, with Bitcoin wanting to be a currency, you're going to have to be able to have your transactions per second, at least at the very minimum, be able to handle the same sort of traffic that the Visa, MasterCard, credit card networks are currently handling, if you're going to have any, hope of even being a viable option for the average consumer. And if Ethereum has the same, is starting to develop the same sort of issues where the system isn't able to process the proper number of transactions, then that would suggest to me, as a investor, that would show some flaws that need to be identified, specifically how to go and fix the issues so that they are able to compete with other options. And network speed is one of the primary advantages of crypto, and having it so that they are able to handle the traffic of today and have it scalable to where it can handle the traffic 3 years from now, when there's vastly more people involved in this, in the cryptoverse. It tells me that any system that happens to have that cooked into it, a lot of these coins are in development and the projects are still ongoing and they haven't reached their full maturity yet. So they're still the bamboo tree that's really small in metaphor. So with EOS, if they're planning on having a higher throughput cooked into their systems, then that gives me a lot of hope for the project once it's actually running full speed. So that's something that sounds pretty good to me, just based on what I've seen with the effects that Bitcoin has had and the problems that it has at the moment. That seems to me, with Bitcoin, it looks like they have a few issues that really need to be addressed, and they're reaching a critical phase with that, as to whether or not they're going to be viable in the ongoing future if they don't address them in a real and a near immediate, sort of a sense. And with
they've got
EOS, I don't know where they're at in the development process, but it depends on how close they are to releasing their system. And have you found out if they're doing test networks or anything like that yet? Are they in alpha stage, or are they still in pre-alpha stage?
Pulling up
Do you know?
the oops, shrink that to fit a bit the screen better. Just pulled up their roadmap here. So phase 1, minimum viable testing environment, summer 2017. So they've got a test net up, and they're working on that. I don't know how many people are involved with it, but I reckon quite a few. They've got quite a substantial development team, I reckon, because they've pulled in quite a bit of money for this project, and they're still pulling in money for this project. That's an interesting topic I'll get into briefly in just a moment. So they've got different things happening there. Phase 2, minimum viable test network, fall 2017, so we're into that now. Phase 3, testing and security audits, winter 2017, spring 2018. Now, during this phase, the platform will undergo heavy testing with a focus on finding security issues and bugs. At the end of phase 3, version 1 will be tagged. So they're going to develop example applications. They'll be putting out bounties for successfully attacking the network. Language support, adding support for additional languages. Documentation and tutorials. So that'll basically be when that comes out, then people can start developing apps and start getting into working on the network. Phase 4, parallel optimization. That's slated for summer, fall 2018. So that's when they'll be implementing the parallel chains and working out how to implement parallel execution in a stable fashion. Phase 5, cluster implementation of the future. I'm not sure what's meant by that, but I reckon it has to do with more speed, adding more speed to it. So basically,
so it looks like for this, they seem to be going through the phase, probably phase 2 or 3 at the moment, and should be about this time next year, should be seeing some major movement in the in the project, so that it's probably, if not already out. That'll be pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I reckon in the next 3 to 6 months they'll have the fundamental product out, and that will allow people to start building apps and testing things, and we'll start to see things happen there. The parallelization will happen a little later, but that's kind of going to feed into its growth. So the parallelization is really the major speed optimization, but that won't be needed initially. So yeah, it looks like they're going to start. It'll be functional here in 3 to 6 months.
Interesting stuff.
I'd like to, at this point, have a little MaidSafe segue because I find EOS to be really interesting and kind of an intermediate between Ethereum and MaidSafe, because MaidSafe too will allow for apps, smart contracts, all this sort of thing to be built on it, and they've already solved all the speed and parallelization problems. So they're building in a lot of fallback and safety systems. I think it's, MaidSafe is going, let me just put it this way, if Ethereum is like a crypto 2.0 or 3.0, then EOS is like a crypto 4.0, and in my opinion, MaidSafe is a crypto 6.0. It's leapfrogging 5.0 entirely and blows everything else out of the water. But they are further out in terms of release than EOS, in my estimation. So I reckon that MaidSafe is at least a year out from releasing a really working product with its token and everything part of the mix. And I could be wrong about that, but hopefully it will be sooner rather than later. But that's my estimation. So if MaidSafe could release on the timetable that EOS is planning to release, then I wouldn't be talking about EOS so much. I would be focusing even more on MaidSafe. But as it is, MaidSafe to me is more of a longer term thing, and so I think EOS is going to have a really strong price target over the next several months, and it's going to, because MaidSafe is going to take so long to get out, EOS is going to have a really good chance at taking over from Ethereum in a lot of ways. As such, I'd like to discuss briefly what my market cap and pricing targets are here for EOS. So once fully distributed, the EOS ecosystem will have 1 billion tokens. Just take a step back here. Now, EOS's token distribution system is quite unique. They've set it up so that so many tokens distribute every day, and I think it's ongoing and will still be ongoing for at least the next 3 to 6 months. I think it was going to take a total of like some 250 days or so. I'm not exactly sure. But so each day they're selling tokens still. So they're doing really well now, because as the price of EOS has shot up, the amount that they sell the tokens for shoots up with it. So they're pulling in tons of money, and as EOS continues to shoot up over the next few months, as it moves towards this launch of their phase 3 network, they are going to make billions of dollars. They've already made billions. They're going to make billions and billions more. It's incredible the amount of money they're going to pull in, and they're going to use that for the further marketing and development. So not just sipping martinis on the beach. I reckon, Dan Larimer is a really top developer. He knows the space. He's been in it a long time. So that said, I feel that the EOS is conservatively going to around 50 billion in market cap in 6 months' time, and 100 billion in 9 to 18 months' time. And I think that's very conservative. Given the number of tokens in the EOS ecosystem, that puts my target price at $50 in 6 months and 100 between 9 and 18 months. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going to be putting a lot more. I've bought some EOS today. I'm going to be buying more in the next few days probably. And I expect great returns from EOS. Mike?
Should be interesting.
And that's all we have for the main part of the show today. The next topic is the MaidSafe weekly update. Do you want to hang around for that, Mike, or do you want to head on to other things?
Yeah, go right ahead. I'll just sit here and listen.
All right, so the weekly update. Let me just pull that up here for the viewers. I'm not at the bottom of the update screen. Zip to the top. The link for it will be in the show notes and in the description as usual. All the links as well for the EOS information. So, key points to this update. They've updated more on their new browser. They've added local host support. They've added support for ClearNet links going to another browser. So ClearNet links will not be opening ever in the browser project for MaidSafe. There's security issues with that, as mentioned before in my previous in episode 1. So ClearNet links, when clicked, will open in a browser, another browser of your choice. So if you got Google Chrome or Firefox or whatever, they'll open there, but they won't open in the MaidSafe browser. That's an active development project, so we'll hear more about the browser project in the future. Another big thing today is the relaunch of CEP, the Community Engagement Program. So I'm going to quote them from their thing here. The purpose of the CEP is to match MaidSafe requirements with skills in the community, taking the form of a community-funded Kickstarter-like process to encourage community members, individuals, and teams to bid for projects. Before, this was more focused on technical requirements, and longer-standing forum members will recall that CEP gave birth to the Safe browser. Now, Safe browser was the browser before the new browser project. They ran into some limitations with that particular browser framework, and so they've moved to a more standard browser. I believe it's the browser that Chrome is built on, Google Chrome, and so they're building on that platform now, which has a lot more active development happening in the background, so it's good. So I've kind of lost track. Before this, was the CEP program was more focused on technical requirements, and longer-standing forum members will recall that the CEP gave birth to the Safe browser, currently part of Alpha 2, the Alpha 2 test network, and also led us to hire Joshua. Our intention with this relaunch is to not only focus on development tasks, but also to incorporate non-technical requirements, such as design, animations, videos, content management, etc. Sarah and Doug, now they're the two marketing guys that have been hired by MaidSafe, are currently working on an explainer video and some other resources to make the process more clear and to educate newer members about its existence, and we look forward to launching this next week. So this is a big marketing push on MaidSafe, which I'm really hopeful that will help stabilize their price a bit more and push their price up. So this could be a sign for people who want to get in as long-term hodlers. This is maybe a good time to start getting in, because we could see price movements over the next 6 months start to push up. Now, they've had multiple code updates this week. I'm not going to detail that. Please visit the update here and read for yourself if you're interested in the details. There's always code updates every week, and I'm not at the level of coding expertise to really discuss them in the detail that they do. They're not strictly for the lay person. Their update here and how they go over their code updates isn't super technical, but each point requires pretty detailed explanation, and I'm not going to take the time up in this video. It would go for hours if I did that. The next point, development of a script to automate packaging across multiple architectures and platforms is now undergoing review and testing. Now, this will give the team much more time to focus on real issues and less time doing the tedious monkey work. Each time they have a major set of updates and they have to repackage everything, it's very tedious, takes up a lot of the team's time. So this script will help automate that and give them a lot more time to focus on the code. So I thought I'd mention that. I think it's a pretty big deal for them time-wise. Now, the last point I have here about this update, they've said that due to realization of new edge cases, which are low probability events that the code needs to ultimately account for in some way, the team hasn't made much coding progress this week with data chains. They've been discussing these edge cases and how to account for them. As I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week, but data chains, I'm going to have to go into a full episode to discuss this, because data chains is kind of complex. But the short of it is that it will help if there's problems with outages in the safe network. Data chains helps recover that, helps recover where information is stored, and so it's a pretty important part of the safe network. and they're making progress on it, pretty rapid progress. And yeah, again, we'll have to discuss that in detail in another episode, but it's pretty important, and yeah, they're working on that. So I've left a lot out. If you're interested in the detail, please follow the link in the description or the show notes. And that's all for this week. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. And well, we'll see. Hopefully you'll be able to come with us, join us next week. If not, I might be on my own. I'm not sure when Jason's going to get back in. He's a pretty busy guy. Hopefully we'll get him into the show at some point. And yeah. So thanks for joining us, Mike.
Oh, you bet. Glad to be part of it.
Thank you for joining us today on the Safe Crypto Show. We hope you found the episode informative and helpful. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share our video with others. Tune in next week for another interesting episode.